Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and it's Women's History Month, and I'm here today to talk to you about former Power Ranger actresses who managed to break the Power Ranger curse. The curse of being, once you are in Power Rangers, Hollywood just doesn't want to like hire you for nothing. It's just the way it is. It's kind of like former Disney stars and Nickelodeon stars. And so, like, these actresses I'm about to name, they've managed to go and have a pretty good, successful, like, TV and movie career, at least for the most part, of appearing in at least one full season or, like, multiple seasons and stuff. So, the first couple ones I'm about to mention, they are the ones who either appeared in the show but wasn't the main character. They were like either a recurring character or a co-star or something like that. So these are more like honorable mentions and stuff. Nakia Burress. So at some point in time after Power Rangers, like she was a recurring star on something called Danger Force on Nickelodeon. I've never seen Danger Force. I think it's about superheroes or something like that. But nevertheless, she was a recurring like character on that show. Of course, Nakia was on Turbo in that of Zeo as the Yellow Ranger. Zoe Robbins, she was the White Ninja Steel Ranger, and she had a recurring role on a show called The Wheel of Time that's on Amazon Prime. I tried to get into that show. I just couldn't. The show, I think, went on for 3 seasons. I think it's still going on today and everything. But a lot of people really like it. Maybe one day I'll try to recheck it back out and see if I can get into it. Sally Martin, our very first blue female Power Rangers from Power Rangers Ninja Storm. After Power Rangers, she landed a gig on a soap opera, and I think it's in New Zealand or it's in Australia. It's called Southland Streets. I've never seen it because I don't get that channel. But she was in that show from 2009 all the way to 2024. But for some bizarre reason, they wrote her character off. Emma Lahana, at least I think that's how you say her name. I'm not sure how you say her last name. But she was the Yellow Dino Thunder Power Ranger, known as Kira. And so after Power Rangers, she nabbed her first gig on Ashley Tisdale's CW show Hellcats, where she played a high school teenager who was pregnant. Now, she uses her American fake accent for this, and I remember back when she was in Power Rangers, it was pretty good, but you can still hear the Kiwi in it because she's from New Zealand. Still to this day, I've never heard her real accent, but I got into Hellcats late, back when this show was on, and so I went halfway into the season, and by the time she appeared, or reappeared, I should say, she was already pregnant, and she was probably in like 1 or 2 episodes. I am one day gonna rewatch this entire show because it's on Tubi, because I am kind of curious, what the beginnings of the first couple of episodes were about. But then she scored her biggest role in a Marvel television show where she played Mayhem. Now, I forget the alias of Mayhem. She's like a detective cop. But in the comics, she's the villain. In the show, they made her into an anti-hero. And that show lasted for 2 seasons. It didn't have that much special effects, and it's more like Smallville, where it's more like a teen drama with people who just so happen to have like superpowers. But it was a pretty good show. It probably would have went on for many seasons on Freeform if the MCU and Disney weren't so greedy in trying to acquire pretty much all their properties and stuff, and having all these Marvel television shows canceled. So that show got canceled, and of course the Runaways, eventually Agents of Shield, and so on and so on, then the Netflix shows and stuff like that. Now, since Power Rangers, she has pretty much distanced herself completely from Power Rangers. I don't know what it is, but she seems to have some sort of animosity towards, like, Power Rangers and stuff. I do remember a fan got rude with her, and she got rude back, which was justified. Because he said something about 10 years later and you look this old. And she was like, 10 years later and you're still watching a kid's show. So fans can be very, very rude. But needless to say, you won't see her at no convention. Serena Vincent, the yellow Lost Galaxy Ranger. So the Italian stallion herself. She managed to be in a number of movies after like Power Rangers and stuff. I remember her from Not Another Teen movie, Cabin Fever, and she's been in also a lot of other like independent type movies and guest starred in like television shows. She's even written like her own book. But I remember her also from a Disney Channel show called Stuck in the Middle with Jenna Ortega that lasted for 3 seasons where she played the mom. All right, so now these last three are gonna be like the major ones that were in like major shows that either I watched or just lasted for multiple seasons. And so with that, Amy Jo Johnson, the very first Pink Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So after Power Rangers, she did a show called Felicity, and she was on there for 4 seasons. I've never watched Felicity, but I did read about how like a lot of people was pissed at the main star for chopping off her hair, and some believe that's what led it to be canceled. Other than that, she has also had a music career. But another show that I actually saw her in was a really good cop drama from Canada called Flashpoint. And that show lasted for about 5 or 6 seasons where she played a police officer. After that, she's done other stuff, but now she's mostly behind the camera. She directed an episode of Superman and Lois on the CW. She's also written comic books for Boom Studios. She still is in like, goes to conventions and stuff like that. However, when you see her, she's either solo or she's with David Yost. For some reason, she hasn't appeared with like her other co-stars from Mighty Morphin. And it has led to a lot of speculation, but I'm not going to speculate, but it does make you wonder what the heck happened behind the scenes. And because I don't think she's ever been to Power Rangers Morphicon, and that's like the biggest one of them all. She goes to like other conventions and stuff, but it's just still kind of odd that she doesn't appear with the other cast members. And she was also the first one to call out Austin St. John for his little Hitler shirt thing. So I really appreciate that. Now these next two, they are probably the most famous former Power Ranger stars ever. And that's because these two have literally landed their own television show where they were the main character. Adelaide Kane, at least I hope that's how you say her first name. She's an Australian actress. And of course, she played Tanaya in Power Rangers RPM as like the villain. And so after Power Rangers, she booked the gig of a lifetime in a show I love to death called Reign on the CW. You can actually watch it on Amazon Prime. She played Queen Mary of Scots, based on the real Queen Mary of Scotland from back in the 1500s and stuff. She was phenomenal in that role, and it lasted for 4 seasons. After that ended, she's also done stuff for like a recurring role on Once Upon a Time, but now she is on Grey's Anatomy. And that show has been on for like 1,000,000 years, it feels like. The next and probably most famous of all, Power Ranger stars is Rose McIver. Also from Power Rangers RPM, she was the Yellow Ranger. And I remember when I first saw her as a little girl on Xena Warrior Princess, where Xena, like, I guess was like possessed inside her body, and she had to do like all these stunts and, her stunt double and stuff like that. But like, then I saw her on Legend of the Seeker in just a very tiny role. And I've always heard her with her fake American accent. And so when I heard her New Zealand accent for the first time, I was shocked and surprised. I've never heard it. And she doesn't even like her accent. So it's like, oh. But what makes her so famous is that afterwards she had a recurring role as Tinkerbell on Once Upon a Time on ABC. But that's not what really made her famous. What really makes her famous and tops that of Adele, how do you say her name? Adelaide, is that she's had 2 of her own shows where she was the main star. She was first on the CW's iZombie, and that lasted for about 5 or 6 seasons. I tried to watch the first episode, couldn't get into it, and it was kind of gross. But I remember being so proud when she first landed that role. I'm like, whoa, she got her own role, you know what I'm saying? After that, she was starred in as one of the main stars in a show called Woke. Never seen it, but I think it only lasted for 1 or 2 seasons and stuff. I'm not really sure. I just know it lasted for about 3 years or so. But then she landed another main role, this time in the British remake of a comedy called Ghost. I watch Ghost. I love that show. It's on CBS. They're currently in their 4th season, I believe. And she is hilarious in that show. I had no idea she could do comedy. And not only can she do comedy, she can do impressions and stuff. So in the show, she is a woman who can see ghosts. And in the show, if you have an accident, like say you touch an electrical wire, you get electrocuted, and you fall back into a ghost, the ghost inhabits your body. This has happened twice to her, and so she's had to mimic her co-stars, and she mimicked them so perfectly. It is insane. Like the mannerisms, the way they sound, because you remember she had to speak with a fake American accent, but now she has to talk the way another person talks, and she did it amazingly. Like, she is truly phenomenal in everything. And in my opinion, she is truly the most famous in terms of like Hollywood success than any other former Power Rangers star. Now, sadly, I don't think Rose has ever been to a convention. If she has, it probably is like a smaller one, and I haven't seen it on YouTube, but I've never seen her at none of the bigger conventions and never at Power Morphicon. But I have seen her do interviews on late night television shows, and for the most part, she doesn't talk Power Rangers, but if you bring it up, she will, like, talk about it and stuff. So that's always cool. And she's come a long way from like that one guest appearance on Xena, that one guest appearance on Legend of the Seeker. I remember her saying she used to be a delivery person and she used to deliver stuff in a hearse. Like an actual like Undertaker hearse and everything. Dude, she's come a long way. And so, for Women's History Month, I do like to appreciate the female Power Rangers, as I have done in multiple videos over the years, because, I love Power Rangers. It was such a great show. And a lot of people really shouldn't, rag on it as much as they do. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, well, I'll talk to you later. Bye.